You know, I think Taika Waititi is like the most annoyingly adorable person to ever exist.
Yeah, yeah, it does speak for itself. And it's a very... What? This is going terribly.
Yep.
I don't think I can do this.
Was? Of course you can.
I'm Lindsay, and this is my review for JoJo Rabbit. Ever since I saw the trailer for this film, you know, you have Taika Waititi, who's a Pacific Islander, playing Hitler as a little boy's imaginary friend. It sparks your interest, makes you want to go see it. The downside is it has not been released in a ton of theaters, especially in smaller markets and the middle states of the country, where I live. So I drove 4 hours round trip to see it. Completely worth it. The basic storyline is we are following the main character of JoJo, who is this 10-year-old boy who is a member of the Hitler Youth during World War II in Germany. And he is struggling with self-esteem and finding his place. And he has an imaginary friend, and that imaginary friend is Hitler. And throughout the course of the film, we follow him and his experiences, and he discovers that his mother is hiding a young Jewish girl in their crawl space, and pretty much him coming to terms with who he is and what he believes. First of all, I'm going to talk about my overall general thoughts of the film, and then later on we'll get into spoilers, and I will warn you before we get there. So first thoughts overall, I really liked this film. I wasn't sure what to make of it before I went in, because it's hard to peg down the tone of a film like this, especially just from watching the trailer, because it could be pretty tricky with the subject material. But I think Taika Waititi brought a sensibility to it that it rode that fine little line of satire and heart where it really, really worked for me. The performances were really, really good. Taika as Hitler is just hilarious. He's really, really funny. The other supporting cast, you have Sam Rockwell, you have Scarlett Johansson, Alfie Allen, Stephen Merchant, Rebel Wilson. They all did a great job. They were all very funny and helped fill out the rest of the film. Sam Rockwell did a particularly exceptional job in his role. I watched a couple of interviews when I was preparing for this review, and there was one interview where a question was posed to him as to, you know, how he approached his character in the film. And his response was that he just played it as Bill Murray as a disillusioned Nazi, and that perfectly describes the way he approached this role and how he played it. It was really funny and really good. Scarlett Johansson does a fine job acting. Her accent kind of wavers in and out a little bit at times, but she gives a very strong performance, and her role is very central to the heart of the film. Now I want to talk about the kid actors, because a lot of times with kid actors in films, they're not good and they just come off as annoying. And I don't enjoy them. But this film had some of the best child actors I've ever seen. They were really, really good, especially the kid that played JoJo. His name's Roman Griffin Davis, and he's absolutely adorable. He's like the cutest little 10-year-old you could think of. And he's extremely precocious and has some of the best line delivery in the film, and he plays off of these adult actors like he's been doing it for years. He's just really good, and he's really fun to watch. And then he's got his little friend, the little fat kid with the glasses, is really, really funny, and he's good too. And the girl who plays the young Jewish girl who is hiding in their house is good too. I was very impressed with her. She reminded me a lot of a young Nicole Kidman, especially her facial features and her facial expressions and the way that she spoke and delivered her lines. It reminded me a lot of a young Nicole Kidman.
Nothing makes sense anymore.
Yeah, I know, it's definitely not a good time to be a Nazi.
The thing that I like the best about this film is that we are seeing the entirety of the narrative, with the exception of maybe one or two scenes, through the eyes of this 10-year-old boy. And that's where we see a lot of the exaggeration and the more silly elements come in, is because we're seeing these awful things through the eyes of a 10-year-old's imagination. I could see how some people could criticize that this film didn't go far enough or kind of glossed over the atrocities that were happening, where I disagree with that a little, because like I said, we're seeing this through the eyes of a small child who has been indoctrinated and so isn't seeing these things for what they really are, and his young mind is kind of filling in the blanks how a 10-year-old would. But I could see where some people could say that the message is a little soft in that regard. But overall, I very much enjoyed this film. It made me laugh, it made me cry. It has a lot of heart, a lot of sweetness, and it'll shock you in more than one way. And one other thing that I could probably criticize is there were a few times when I thought the exaggeration was a little much, that they went a little too far with the silliness, where it almost upset the balance that they were going for, but it recorrected just enough before it really took you out of the film, or at least took me out of the film. So I would highly recommend you go see Jojo Rabbit. You can leave the theater with just a nice feeling. And that's rare these days. So I think that's a big reason why I liked it, is I walked out of the theater with just a little, with that warm heart, and I liked that.
You know what I am? Say it. A Jew. Gesundheit.
So now let's talk some spoilers. There aren't a lot of spoilers in this film. There's really only one big aspect that is a spoiler, and it really took me off guard, and that was when JoJo found his mother hanging in the town square. I was not expecting it to happen, and they set it up so well where you did not see it coming, or at least I didn't see it coming. The way that they approached it with the camera work I thought was really well done, because every time we see her or she comes into a scene, there's particular attention paid to those shoes that she's wearing, those red and white shoes. And while JoJo is out doing his work and he's following a butterfly and he leans down to touch it, and all of a sudden we see those shoes hanging next to him, and it just rips your heart out because you realize before he does what happened. Another thing I really liked about the film was the color palette. A lot of times with war movies it's very drab and stark, or there's just a lot of green or black or neutral colors. This film is very colorful. There's a lot of browns, but it's a real rich brown, and then it's accented with really deep reds and blues and greens and yellows. It is a very, very colorful film. And I also like the set dressing a lot, like the house that they live in. It's got a ton of like Art Deco furniture and furnishings and artwork, and it just looks really, really neat. And also the costuming, especially Scarlett Johansson's character has a lot of neat costuming pieces from that time. And that also goes into this colorful world that JoJo lives in within his mind. And during some of the more heartbreaking scenes, all that color gets sucked away. Like most notably, when he finds his mother. And I thought the choice to use Hitler as the imaginary friend makes a lot of sense. For one, because there's this huge history of portraying Hitler in comedies. I mean, everyone from Charlie Chaplin to Mel Brooks has done it.
I'm good-natured. I'm good-hearted. I'm good-looking.
And also because it makes sense for the character of JoJo. One, because Hitler is like his idol, and that's what he strives to be. And also because his father is not there. He's told that his father is away fighting, but later on we discovered that that may not be the case, that he may be involved in something else. But it also takes the place of that father figure for him because he doesn't have one at this point. Really, the overall message of this film is that we are not born to hate, we are taught to hate. That's the overall message of this film. It's not about World War II. It's not about the Nazis. That's just the vehicle that was used to convey this one overall point. That hate is learned. That's it. So yeah, go see Jojo Rabbit. It'll make you feel good. What's wrong with that?
People used to say a lot of nasty things about me. Oh, this guy's a lunatic. Oh, look at that psycho. He's going to get us all killed.
Well, that's going to do it for this review. So until next time, this is Lindsay signing off. I'll check you later.